Hi guys, this one may not seem that interesting at first, but bear with me. This is talking about power supplies for guitar effects. This applies to guitarists, bass players, and also studio engineers. So listen up, this could be important. So here I have a dark glass B7K, which in this case is equivalent to a lot of guitar pedals, that it's designed where it has an unfiltered 9-volt input and it doesn't have a battery compartment as far as I know. I mean, a lot of pedals don't have battery compartments now, and even if it did, I wouldn't be using it because batteries are expensive and quite wasteful. So what I do is I use a power supply, always have done. Now this plugged in, oh, the pedal's turned off right now. This is a standard switching power supply. This is a 9-volt power supply and it's set correctly for the polarity. If I turn the pedal on, listen to this. Hear that? Well, I'll turn it up so. So there's this noise on there, and that makes this completely unrecordable with. And what is it? This happens with anything that's got a switching power supply where it doesn't have a rectifier. It has a kind of a switching system where it will provide DC voltage one way, then it will switch from the AC voltage coming in so that the DC voltage always stays the same. But because it switches and switches and switches and switches, there are little clicks, but it happens so quickly that those clicks come through as an annoying high-pitched whine. So what can we do? With this power supply you can get what's called an isolator, and my friend Christian has one of these isolators and they're about £20, and that goes in between the power supply and the pedal, but that only works with one pedal, because if the pedal itself makes any noise, that will react, and you can't really do that with kind of a daisy chain setup. So one alternative is to spend a lot of money on an isolated power supply, like an MXR ISO brick, something like that, where each output is separately isolated from the mains, so you don't get that. Now what I've done and what I want to show you today is I have got myself one of these things. It's quite a nondescript little box, but this is a Power LT XL from Warwick's rock board range, and they also do a Pedal Train do one called the Volto, which you can't really find at the moment, but their 2016 version of the Volto has just been released, so you should be able to find that. It's a little black power brick, and what this is, if you've ever used a power brick for your phone, like your 5-volt battery bank, this is very much like that, but they step it up to 9 volts on the output instead of 5. So it's got two 1 amp outputs, and that's quite a lot. 1 amp in terms of guitar pedals is either quite a lot of pedals or a couple of very high output pedals like Strymon pedals or Line 6. I've got a Line 6 M5 and I'll show you it in action. But first, let's just plug this 9-volt in here. That automatically turns it on, and I plug that into the power here. Big pop, and then I'll turn it on, and no whiny noise. Now that's particularly important in a studio because you can't really go back and be notching frequencies out of a guitar or a bass, because that will damage the tone. If you can get yourself a power supply that will just not produce that kind of noise, that's one problem solved. And another problem that especially live guitarists find, and I used to find as a live bass player, because I used to have quite a big pedal rig for a bass player, is you don't want to be running power to the front of the stage, really. I mean, you have to because of your pedal board, but what if you didn't have to because you had one of these? And these can just recharge off the mains after the show, and you get quite a lot of runtime on these things. But what that would mean is your board's out front, you're connected to your board via a cable, and one sound cable goes to your amp. If someone decides to be a complete idiot and pour a pint of beer all over your pedal board, you will likely not die. I mean, it sounds funny, but there have been so many horror stories of electric shocks from the mains and musicians, and just don't be near the mains, don't be connected to the mains. With one of these, that is an option. And the best thing about these, I think, is you get the benefits of an isolated power supply for a lot less money, and the added benefit of the portability, because this new is less than £40. The pedal train Volto, I think, is 50 or 60, so it's about $70. How much does an isolated power supply cost? 100 plus. And you have to find a power socket. You'll probably have to run an extension cable out. With this, you don't have to think about any of that. You can just turn up with your board, plug in, go. And you don't have to think about, it's another step of the logistics taken out. That just makes your lives a little simpler. So get yourself something like this, or a pedal train Volto, make your life easier. For more tips and tricks like this, please subscribe to the Hot Pole channel, to my personal channel. And if you want to come down to the studio and talk about more studio stuff in depth, I'll just give you this is a Line 6 M5. If you want to talk in depth about studio stuff, I'm always available. I do teach at master's degree level as well, so if there's anything seriously technical you want to talk about, then you can always drop me a line. I do master's degree courses with the recording connection, so any questions you have, get in touch. I mean, here's the Line 6 M5 in action, by the way. This thing draws about 400 milliamps and is working absolutely fine. And I've tried it in stereo and it's absolutely happy doing this, even with other pedals on the board. Thanks for watching, guys. See you soon.